We're gonna start now. Yeah. Okay, we are live now. So we'll just give it a couple of minutes for people to join in, say hi. I'll put up the banner about the comments. Yeah, I'm just saying not to put any, not to click anything, just in case we are not quick enough to clean them up. So hello everyone who is joining. Please tell us in the comments where are you from. Our live today is even more international than usual. We have Jenny from Australia joining us. And here we go. So, so you can probably see some links in the comments that are being posted by spammers, bots. Please do not click them. These are scammers. They're trying to steal people's bank details and whatnot. So please don't click anything. We are going to clean them as as fast as we can. But be cautious yourself.
Yeah.
Hello Marianne. Hello, Netherlands.
Oh, the Netherlands are first.
Yeah, hello. Hello, Marco from
Austria.
Hello, neighbors from Austria. Tallinn, Estonia.
Hello. Yeah, once again, I'm just going to repeat that. Please do not click any links in the comments. These are spammers. We are clearing them up as soon as we can. But just be cautious. Don't click anything. This live will be available in a recording too, so there is no need to register anywhere. It will be available freely on our page. No worries. Hello everyone who is joining now.
Oh, Christina. Christina's here. Hello, Christina.
Jess from Australia is saying hi. Hello.
Hi, Jess.
Oh, Jess is there as well. Yes. Okay, so do we give people a few more minutes? It's 2 minutes past 10?
I think we can start. We can start going.
Okay, so we are the Smiling Leash team, and we have Lyuba, which is in Bulgaria, and we have Ina, which is in Slovenia, and I am Letty, and I'm in Spain. And we have Jenny with us today, which she's in Australia. So as Luba said, it's properly international today, this talk. And our aim is to change the perception of our walks with our dogs. We want you to start walking slowly. We want people to start using the right equipment. And today we are going to talk about social walks with Jenny. Jenny's in Brisbane, where she lives. Brisbane is in Queensland, in Australia. And she lives with her partner, Graham, and her 4 amazing dogs, which are 5 now, right? Because when we wrote that, it was 4, but now it's 5. And we can talk about that a bit later as well. And Jenny is passionate and dedicated to educating people on how they can improve their dog's life through mutual trust and respect and kindness, and especially nutrition, which is her big thing. Jenny developed the raw food and cat food, the complete meal, in 2003, using high-quality, human-grade, non-factory farm animals and Australian ingredients, and is the owner of the Complete Pet Company, which focuses on nutrition. And then in 2006, she also opened her second business, the Complete Canine Communication, the future of dog training. And we will definitely talk about this later on in the chat, which is great. And I think we can start with some of the questions, if you like. Take it away, girls.
Yeah. Hi, Jenny.
Welcome, Jenny.
Hello.
It's lovely to see you again.
Yes, good to see you.
I forgot the most important thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
The Smiling Leash only exists because of Jenny, right?
Yeah.
Because the Smiling Leash, this is her phrase and her thing, and maybe she can explain a little bit about it in a minute. Sorry, that was important, and I needed to say it.
Wow. Well, not really. I mean, you guys have, run with it, and it's great. It's great. I just love it. I think you're doing a wonderful job, and it's good. It's good to be here with you, you know, because the last time I saw you was Spain.
Yeah, true.
We went to the Torredrugas education course together. Now is it over a year since we finished the course? I think we had some great times there. Had a lot of fun.
Seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? When you think about it now.
Lots of things have changed in the world since then, but we were hoping to get you here to one of our lives, and we were thinking about what to talk about. One of the things that we find very important in dogs' lives is the company of other dogs. And we know that you organize fantastic social walks for dogs. So this is something that you can talk about and teach people and bring your experience to the table. So to start us off, we're going to show some beautiful photos from Jenny's social walks. And she can tell us in the simplest of terms what a social walk is, what it looks like, so that we can have an idea before we start going deeper into the topic. So let's look at some pictures. And Jenny, you can tell us a little bit about your social walks.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I might as well start before the pickies start or whatever. But a social walk really is just an informal gathering, and it's usually friends or like-minded. We would say people if we're talking about a social gathering. So it's actually the opposite. Social is the opposite to isolation, which is really, really important. And walk simply means just placing one foot in front of the other. So a social walk is a group of dogs or and people, and sometimes other animals as well, can join in and going out and just having an informal get-together, which is basically what you're seeing in these pictures. And I guess, you know, sometimes people decide that we want to get together as friends and go out and take our dogs, but we forget that dogs, you know, may not know other dogs that are owned by our friends. And so therefore it can be a little bit difficult for them just to meet up like we would for coffee and sit down and chat. And so we need to look at our social walks, what we're doing, how we're organising them. And as you can see in these pictures, some of these are social walks where there are a lot of dogs together, and some of them are just like you're seeing right there with Ralph and Granny May, where there's just two dogs together. Yeah.
So before we go into how, let's talk about why. Why are social walks so important, and why are they so good for dogs, basically?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think they're good for dogs, but they're also really good for us. Like, I smile when I look at these pictures. Yeah, it makes me feel so good. So we just know that dogs are social. I mean, we know that. And they love to hang out together, and they love to explore together. And they also love to go on adventures together. And I live with a group of dogs, so it's quite interesting, even though there's lots of dogs, you know, they love to do things together. And they also, because they're social, they love the company of other dogs. So it's really important for them to be able to develop friendships with other dogs. Even if they do, you know, if you do have a multiple dog household, it's still important for them to have other friends. And it also helps them enhance their curiosity, so they can build on that, and they can explore things together. Social walks are also important because it helps dogs learn good manners when they're out with other dogs, which is really, really important as well. They get to experience new things in the environment, new smells, new tastes, they get new textures, all those sorts of things. So they're very calming for them. and they get to build bonds. And it's really beautiful. These dogs that you're seeing right here now, they meet up on a fairly regular basis, and they are so happy to see each other. They know each other, and so it's really important that they're actually building those, really good bonds.
Mm-hmm. I agree completely. But there might be someone watching this and listening to us and saying, wow, this looks so wonderful, but I don't think my dog can have a social walk because my dog, for example, barks at other dogs, goes crazy when she sees other dogs. What can you say about that, Jenny? Are social walks for all dogs? Can every dog have a social walk?
Well, I would have to say, unless a dog is physically unable or age doesn't allow them to do that, if we're talking about really small puppies, I actually think social walks can be done by all dogs. But you're absolutely correct, Dina, in what you say, that we do have a lot of dogs that just don't have social skills, a little like people, really. And so we have to then, make sure, like I sort of said, a little bit before, about we have to be important, think about the dog that we might take, this particular dog that is anxious or nervous or reactive, that can't cope being around a lot of dogs, take them out with another dog that is a little bit what I would call well-balanced, is a good way of putting it. But at a distance, we just don't throw dogs into it. So we need to be able to observe dogs and work out what is their threshold, what is their distance, what can they cope with, and it could be quite a big distance. But social walks certainly can be done, I think, by just about all dogs.
And we can also say that even dogs that seem like they can't have a social walk, they can, if it's adapted to them, and they do need them as well. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely. They're social, they are social creatures, and we all are. I mean, I think COVID is a really good example for humans, and as horrible as it's been for all of us, I think it, I'm very passionate about factory farming, which is isolation. And, all animals are social. And so this has given us a really good example of how people can change emotionally, being in lockdown and not being able to just ring up Mary down the road and go and have a coffee. And so all dogs do need to be, but you're absolutely, right when you say that some dogs just can't cope with it because they've never been around other dogs and they've never learnt how to behave around other dogs. And I find it so,
and I find it just so unfortunate that it becomes a vicious circle where a dog might be a little bit extra, a little bit barking, a little bit too excited. So people start to avoid dogs, but it makes the problem worse because the dog is probably frustrated and striving for a dog contact, and it's just sad to see. But it's so lovely to see these pictures because it shows dogs of different sizes together, just being social. And another thing when I'm looking at these pictures is dogs don't have to be face to face just to communicate. They can communicate at a distance and just explore something together. They are so good at communicating with their bodies. So it's good to see those pictures to really understand that social walk is not about just playing and interacting constantly. It just can be about just calmly walking together.
And actually, Luba, this photo is a great example because that other photo with those dogs, because in that photo there's actually 9 dogs. You can't see all of them, but there was 9 dogs, and there was a video I took. Now there were a couple of dogs in that actual photo that had never met before that social walk, and one of those was Frankie, who is a sort of a bull type dog, an American Staffy type cross dog. And he'd never met any of this group of dogs before. And so we didn't know what that was going to be like. And we had some little dogs in there. You know, there's quite a few little, you know, we've got mini schnauzers and we've got a dachshund. And so we've got quite a few different types of, you know, style of dog. And Nikki was great with him. She just hung right back while we walked, and we all walked slowly because obviously we've got big dogs and little dogs there. And I just kept talking to Nikki on the phone every now and again and saying, how are you going? And she was back there, but Frankie was sniffing where we had been. So he was getting to know us, and these dogs in front knew he was there. And as the walk went on, he moved up, and by the end of the walk, they were all together. You know, they chose to actually be together. So it is possible, you know.
That's so nice.
Yes.
And recently we got a question from our subscriber asking, you know, what kind of studies are there to show. So we, to show that dogs are social and they need social walk. So we gave out actually some studies about streeties, because dogs are, you know, if they are allowed choices, they choose to live in groups in a social setting at all times. So I think that's also very important to mention and say, if dogs had a choice, they would choose to live in groups with other dogs, and they always have this, you know, internal motivation to be with other dogs. So that's really important to remember. And there is no dog, maybe some dogs like other dogs a little bit less than people, but they all would enjoy social walks.
Yeah, and especially those dogs that are living alone or spend a lot of hours home alone. And there's many of them all over the world that are really, really isolated. And we also know from studies that isolation is very painful. Emotionally, it's extremely painful. And we learnt from Amber, you know, doing the courses that we've done, that mental pain is the same as physical pain. And if you suffer from any physical pain, you will know how bad that is. And I think it's really important for us to, you know, to understand that it is extremely painful not to be able to go out and mix with your own time, you know, your own kind. And even if, you know, they're not racing and tearing, they're just walking together. You know, oh, what are you sniffing? Oh, God, I'll sniff that too. What are you chewing? I'll come and chew that too. You know, I'll walk with you for a while, but now I want to walk with that one over there. So, it's really important.
Yeah, let's watch a video, this quick one here. I hope it plays well. If not, we'll try to fix it. Yeah, it doesn't play. Okay, 1 second. We will try to fix it. I just really want to show a video example, because it's about what you are saying, that they're just sniffing, they're just hanging out. To us people, it can seem like nothing much, nothing really special, nothing important, but for dogs, it's so important.
And this is Ralph. He's a young dog that lives alone. And we've had to work a lot with Ralph because he has not been so social. And Granny May is such a well-balanced dog. So we have done quite a bit of work with Granny May and Ralph, as you can see in this video.
That's a lovely video. I really like it.
And I've still got a smile in my line, even with a phone in my hand, guys.
Yeah.
Great job.
But yeah, they really are just hanging out, and they are communicating to each other all the time in tiny little signals, which we don't always see, but they have a lot to say to each other, and it's really nice for them. It's interesting to see that after a walk like this, and it can be a short walk, half an hour, which, for example, for my dog, he's around somewhere, half an hour of calm walking doesn't tire him out physically at all. But so much is going on, so much information is coming through, that after a social walk, he sleeps a lot. Yeah. And it's good. He feels good. You can see it. And I think it's the same for most dogs. After social walks, they sleep.
For sure.
Jenny,
I would, yeah.
I
Letty?
have a little question. Yes. If you had a multi-house dog, you had multiple dogs, would you still recommend that they went out with other dogs? For example, you have 5 dogs, I have 3 dogs. So when they go out, they go in a group and they're having a social walk of their own. But would you recommend that they met other dogs as well?
Do you want to meet on the beach, Letty?
I would love to.
Yeah. Yes, I do. I absolutely do. Obviously, it's not as important. It's probably not a great way to say that, but I don't worry as much as, say, a dog that lives in an apartment that lives on its own. I would, I would really think it should be getting out, on a social walk at least twice a week, at least, just for 2 or 3 times a week, just for a small social walk. But yeah, I love living with Graham, but I like to get out and hang out with other people. I don't want to hang out with him all the time. He's probably listening. Sorry, Gray. But yeah, it is important, and I see with my dogs that they love to go out and meet, and it's really strange because I have 3 greyhounds now. Which I never thought I would own. But anyway, I have 3 greyhounds. And when they go out and they see another greyhound, they know a greyhound.
Really?
They spot them from way down the other end of the beach and they'll go, greyhound, and off they go. And they usually, Dallas and Mona will bring them back. Like, hey, come back to this group. And we'll end up with another greyhound in our group. Truth. So, yes, it is extremely important that our multi-household dog households do get out and mix with other dogs. Do yours mix with other dogs, Letty? Yeah,
especially Rufus.
Yeah.
But Rufus lived in the streets, so he's very social anyway.
Yeah.
He has more skills. So he just goes and meets other dogs quite well.
Yeah.
And so now that we've talked about how important social walks are and what they are, let's talk a little bit how to prepare for them. Because, for example, for people that are worried that their dog meets other dogs, how to make sure that the walk is arranged in a good way that the dog feels comfortable.
Sure. And that's a big one. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a challenge, depending on who you are and also your knowledge of dogs, because a social walk doesn't mean everybody just meet on the corner and off we go on a walk. I mean, I saw a picture the other day which horrified me. It was a record here in Queensland, I think it was, of someone walking. I can't remember how many dogs it was, but I was horrified. And that could be classified as a social walk. So how do we prepare for a social walk? We first of all have to look at the dogs that are attending the social walk. So that's really important. So we need to look at the age, the size, the not so much the breed, but that'll give us a little bit of an idea of what we're dealing with as well. But also past experience of those dogs, and also how much knowledge the owners have as well, because that can decide whether there's going to be a problem or not. Also, I know when we go on a social walk, I've gone and not taken a dog because I need to be watching all the time. So we sort of, look at that. Sometimes we have walkie-talkies so that we can talk to each other, which is good.
That's such a good idea.
Yeah, it just saves the mobile phone, so they can just hook them on themselves, and then I can talk to them. So I can say, you move over there, or whoa, you need to back off a bit, or whatever it might be. So you need to sort of look at those things, how many people you're going to get together, and of course where you're going to go. depending on the dogs that you have with you, the age of the dogs, the ability of the dogs, those types of things. But really, I think it's more about the people, how much knowledge the people have. Do you know what I mean? That's really important.
Yeah, not everyone is ready to understand that. Sometimes you need a little more distance. Not everyone is patient enough for the dogs, you know, to give them enough time. And another thing I find is very hard to, at least where I live, to find dogs that are, you know, capable of taking a social walk. To say, like they all are, but just find people who are ready to do that with their dogs. And dogs that are free now, that have a long line, that are not on a bad equipment, dogs that are not healing next to their person all the time. It's I think there is a lot of work to be done with people you're taking the walk with to make them realize.
So what we do, just, you know, to give you an example of how our social walks work, everybody that does my workshops, which I haven't done any workshops in the last year since COVID, but I stopped doing consultations. I did those for 10 years and I stopped doing them, and I'm doing them again now. So I'm doing a lot of one-to-one consultations. But I have a closed Facebook page, Complete Canine Communication Social Group. So it is a closed group, and everybody that's done my workshop or consultation gets an invite to that. They can choose to, you know, come or not. And I'm always, you know, I'm putting things on there. We talk about a lot of stuff. We answer, you know, there's questions. Sometimes we have Zooms where we, you know, get together. But on there, a social group, social walks are organised. And it's not normally me that organises them. It's just someone. And it's usually the same people, which is exactly what you were saying, Luba. It's really hard to get people involved. We find it's the same group of people all the time, but someone will say, hey, who wants to meet on Sunday morning at whatever, the tide's out at so-and-so time. Do you want to go to the beach, or do you want to go to the bush? Where do you want to go? And then we sort of find out who's coming. And then, you know, we organise that, and then I say, oh, yeah, I'll come too if I can come. So I come along and I choose. I don't take all my dogs. I just take one or maybe two, depending on which dogs I'm taking. And then we all meet up. So that's how we do it. And a lot of people could do that, you know, start a Facebook social group page or, you know, social walking in your area. I think it's a really fun thing to do. So everybody that comes, their dogs are going to be on a harness, an H-style harness. They're going to be on a 10-metre lead, which just horrifies a lot of people. But I always say to people, you know, a 10-metre can be a 1 metre, but a 1 metre can't be a 10-metre.
Exactly.
Some people, no, all of them are on 10-metre leads. And I often have a bit of a giggle because we're like a cult. A bit of a cult, you know, because most of the leads are fluoro. You can see some in the picture there. And, you know, people will say, how come those leads are so long? You know, like, what are you people doing? And we're like, well, we're the, you know, social group, like, cult out there trying to do the world. And it's good, you know, because people do ask what we're doing, and we're all got these dogs, and we're learning, you know, everyone's learned how to use a lead properly. And so off we go.
That's so nice. And what about the space? Like, what kind of places do you choose to walk with dogs? Can you do it in the city too?
Yeah. So Brisbane's a little bit different to probably where you two live. Letty's more rural, out rural. So Brisbane's a little bit like that. It's quite, you know, we've got the city, but we have a lot of bushland and beach and those types of things. So a lot of the time we do go to the beach because the dogs love it. They love to go to the beach, you know. And sometimes it's bush. Yeah, and sometimes we go to parks that have like cycle tracks. push bite cycles, what are they called?
Yeah.
Cycles? Push bite, we call them push bites. And cycle
Mountain
tracks.
bike.
Yeah, and so they're great because we walk along those, and if we've got a dog that's probably not so confident, it can walk right back, and the dogs love it because they can walk along the cycle track and sniff the sides of the grass, because obviously all the scent is moving to the sides of the path and sitting in the grass and moving into the bushes. So that's really lovely as well. We tend to go to open places. We don't really go in the city. I mean,
Right.
we don't have to. Do you know what I mean? We've got other choices.
Yeah, and I think it's nice because if you have dogs that are a little bit uncomfortable, you immediately have a choice to increase the distance, to change the setup a little bit, while in the city maybe more narrow spaces can create more tension, too many things that are moving around. Yeah, it of course depends on the dog. Some dogs are so used to it and so good with it, but yeah, if you're just starting out social walks, maybe it's better to choose bigger space.
Yeah, and also I don't really like my dogs walking on hard surfaces all the time.
Yeah.
Like paths and roads and that type of thing. It's not, that's more Letty's area, of course. But I just, if I can get my dogs onto grass and sand and uneven surfaces, I would certainly much prefer to be doing that than
much better. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I was going to ask a question. But okay.
No, it's all right.
Okay. Because I wanted to touch up on something that Jenny said. Yeah, she was talking about the long leashes and how they are walking and they look like a coat and it's 10-meter leashes. And I want to know. I want to know, why is it so important for social walks, that you have the long leashes? And you say that all of your clients and friends that go on social walks all know how to handle the leash. Yeah. And we've talked about this in our page and we've posted some videos, but we want to know how you go about teaching people to handle the leash.
Yeah, so I teach everybody that comes into the shop how to hold a lead. I'm obsessed with probably not so much the technique of the lead. I'm more obsessed with people learning to have soft hands. I really I always put myself in every situation I'm in with a dog. I always put myself in the situation of the dog. How would I feel if I was that dog? So for me, it's more about educating people to have soft hands and never pull on their dog. You can hold, but don't pull. So probably the technique I use, Letty, is, I do bows, but that's not important. It doesn't matter what you do with the lead, as long as you're gentle, as long as you think about the lead feeling like a piece of cotton. And if you pull too hard, that cotton is going to snap. And so I really like people to work with very, very soft hands. And it's really easy once you get used to it, as you know. And the 10-meter leads are, just letting them out slowly, using your thumb and finger. So you don't need to be doing this. I always use palms up, because when you hold a lead like this, you become really firm. Mm-hmm. So it's palms up is really soft, and learning to use fingers rather so than
the whole
clasping your whole hand. And that way you can really start to feel. And I always ask people when they're learning this technique to keep an eye on the clip on the harness, because that will give you an idea of what the lead's actually doing. Is it wobbling around? Are you yanking on it backwards and forwards? It really teaches you to keep an eye on that clip, keep an eye on your hands, keep your shoulders relaxed, keep that lead nice and loose. And it's sort of like fly fishing. Not that I've ever been fly fishing, because I don't like fishing, but it's sort of like letting that lead out and bringing that lead in, letting it out and bringing it back in. That's all you're doing. Your job on a 10-meter lead is like just letting it out, letting it in, slow stopping where you need to. So that just means putting your finger down slowly on the lead. I liken that to ABS brakes for those that know anything about cars. I don't. But there's nothing worse than being in a motor vehicle with someone that drives like this. Put on the brake and stops at the stoplights and you get, whiplash. It's about, being gentle on the brakes and coming to a stop slowly. That's what we want to do with dogs. We want to be able to say to them, hey, we're slowing down now. We're going into a stop. And I call it a slow stop. So that's also really important. So letting the dog out, letting the dog in, keeping the lead off the ground is really important. Have you ever fallen over a lead? It's most embarrassing. But the other thing is you don't want to tread on the lead because you're going to give the dog a jolt as well. Yep. So it's really important to keep the lead up off the ground, but not always. There's a lot of times when I let the lead drag on the ground. Those 10-meter leads don't have a handle, so they can slide through bushes because, maybe 10 years ago I wouldn't have minded going under bushes and jumping over logs, but I'm not doing that anymore. So I can just let the lead do that and I can go round and pick it up and slide through my hand. So it really is about being really gentle, really, really gentle. How would you feel if you had that on connected to your back?
Yeah, and it helps to add to the dog's kind of safe sense of safety that they have a choice in the social walk to move away. Do you think what other benefits a long lead has on the social walk?
Yeah, sorry, Luba.
What other benefits you think the long lead has on the social walk? Okay,
it allows the dog to move freely at its own pace. So it doesn't feel... Have you ever been shopping and you're looking at clothes and you've got the shop assistant standing like right there and she says, can I help you? And you say, no, I'm fine, thanks. I'll just keep looking. And then you move off and she's still there and it's like, like, can you leave me alone?
Horrible feeling.
Yeah. So I think, that it's the same with dogs. They don't want you doing that. They don't want you near them. It also allows them to be able to communicate. We won't go too much into calming signals here, but it also, allows dogs to be able to give signals as to when they're comfortable or when they're being friendly, when they're not. Another one is it gives us the ability, and I've really, really learned a lot more now, and I would have to, hands off to Letty for this. Being on a 10-meter lead, I can see so much more about the mobility of my dog. What's going on? When you're right back, you can see the gait of the dog. Is the dog pacing? Is it in a 4-step walk? Like a 4-gait walk? Is there any pain? Is it lame? How's it holding its head? All those types of things. So you can see a lot more with what's going on with the dog as well.
Such a good point, yeah. And sorry, again, I have still one question here to ask, sorry. So we talked about, dogs being social and how important it is to them, but what other uses do social walks have? What other purposes can you use them for?
Oh, well, introducing dogs. So, for example, whenever I bring a new dog into my home, I do a social walk. So did you want me to give you an example of that or not, not now? Or I think probably Mona Lisa would be a really good example. That's one of the greyhounds that I bought in, and I introduced them one at a time, and we got to Granny May, and Mona Lisa just didn't seem comfortable with Granny May. And that whole introduction of 6 dogs or 7 dogs, I think it was at that time, took about 6 hours. And at the end of the day, I just said to the foster carer, I don't feel right about leaving Mona here. I think she should go back to the home to the foster carer. Let's give it a week. We've finished on a really good note. The dogs all had a really nice day. Nothing bad happened. Let's just leave it here. And in a week, we'll meet somewhere in a park with Granny May and Mona Lisa and go for a social walk. And then I'll bring them home together in the car. And so that's what we did. We met because they were a fair way away. We met in a park. I had quite a few people there just in case, just sort of around, just in case. And we did a beautiful social walk. But what was really interesting is I arrived early and I was way over one side of the park. Pam arrived with Mona over the other side of the park. And those two dogs, as soon as they saw each other, you could see they went, I know you. I've met you before.
Yeah, they know.
Slowly on a 10-metre lead made their way across, and then they meandered off together. And I think I might have sent you a video on that. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
We have one, yeah.
Yeah, and so we did that beautiful social walk. So introducing dogs to bring them into your home. I know in this country they call it meet and greet. But I just love to do a social walk, which is really nice. Great for puppies. Social walks are fantastic for puppies. We're not talking about doing a 40-minute walk. We're talking about doing like a 10-minute walk. And again, we might, make sure that we pick the same sort of size, age, style of puppy. Or we might put a younger dog with an older dog is a really nice use for a social walk. Also, reactive dogs. So dogs, that's a terrible word, reactive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a nice word. But a dog that's either anxious or, fearful, has some sort of, issues being around other dogs or, out in a scary environment. We can also use back to that, what I said before, a well-balanced dog, and go to somewhere that's really, really quiet and just one be over here and one be over there, and even just sit on the ground. Just sit on the ground for a while, let the dogs sniff around. We know they can communicate from a very long distance, and then we could go off on a nice social walk at a massive distance and let the dogs make up their mind, how close they want to get. And the social walk might only be 15 minutes, but it will be something that will form a really, really positive memory and something that they can grow on as well. So they store those memories and then they can learn better. And next time they'll be, happy to do that again. And I've done that with dogs as well. So
Yeah, it's about quality, not quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that goes for a lot of things, Luba.
Yeah, for sure.
No, this is the miracle of social walks, and people sometimes can't believe how much of a change can be achieved with something that looks like nothing is happening. Because if it's good, it's calm, and the dogs look like nothing is happening. They're sniffing around, they're doing their thing. That's what we want to see.
Absolutely. I totally. And the other thing, dogs spend so much of their life being told what to do.
Yeah.
Get on the bed, don't do this, don't do that, you can't bark, you can't people are constantly telling their dogs what to do. And a social walk should be something where they get to go out and they get to go where they want to go. Your job is to just hang on to that lead, or I shouldn't say that, hold that lead, and just be there to make sure that the dog's okay, curve when you need to, split when you need to, stop when you need to, and just let the dog go out and have a good time. And, I know with my dogs, they go out for a social walk with these guys that you can see in the pictures behind me. And it takes them a good week to get over it. They love it. They're just like, that was the best.
I think that it's important what you just said, because I see some groups sometimes here in Slovenia, and I'm sure it's the same in other countries, that go usually into urban settings with dogs. There's a group of dogs with their handlers, and then they do obedience, basically. They go somewhere in a group together, but then they do cues and commands, and that's not what we're talking about today.
No.
At all.
No. And you're absolutely right, and it's sad, and I read all the time, and I was only reading something on Facebook this morning about a dog that wasn't coping, you know, in an environment with other dogs, and the advice was it needs to go to those places and take food and reward the dog, which we know all of this. This is what, you know, goes on everywhere. Reward the dog, give the dog something positive in those scary environments. It doesn't work. It won't work. We need to allow these dogs to move away. If they want to move away and be away over the other side of the park, then your job is to let them do that and let them be as far away as they wanted to be, and watch and observe and have a pleasant experience and leave it at that. And then they will store those good memories. You know, it's like books in a library. You're putting in good books all the time, pulling out the bad ones and putting in the good books, and they become you know, positive memories that they can come back, and that is the only way over time they will overcome those fears. Yeah.
And a question that also is very popular topic for discussion is how to let two dogs meet on a leash. Some people say completely avoid having dogs meet on leashes. Some people say, you know, don't move, relax, or take the leash off completely. So what is your approach to letting dogs meet on the leash? That's
a really hard question. I think it's one of those. It's a good question, but it's one of those questions that I personally can't answer unless I'm there. Leads make me very nervous, and I'll tell you why. Because it's got a human on the end of it. And we're like, you know, we get really nervous because we will never, ever, ever be able to communicate, understand how dogs communicate as well as they can. And very quick, you know. So I get a little bit nervous with dogs on leads for a few reasons, especially not short leads, because it can be as simple as someone pulls a lead and that can be enough to start a dog fight. It's sort of like a pub fight. If I don't know whether any of you girls have been, Letty probably has seen them, but I don't know. But, you know, it can be where people can be in a pub and then, you know, there's a bit of arguing and then someone puts a hand on someone and that's enough to start a huge brawl. So, and long leads can be a problem because they get tangled. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I would rather, me personally, I unclip leads. And how that would work out is if I was introducing dogs, which we do a lot, we would do a social walk. So, you know, we'd start off just in a big park where the dogs are just milling around sniffing in an area of their own, getting to know each other from a distance. Then we head off on our social walk. It could be single file for a while. Some dogs come up and chat to other dogs, and then we move off. And if sometimes on a one walk that we do, there's an off-leash park, and sometimes there's no dogs in there. And I go, yay, there's no dogs. Let's go in there. And Frankie, we did this with, the dog I was talking about at the beginning. And we all went in there. We knew all the dogs bar Frankie. And I just observed him for a little while. And I said to Nikki, let him go. And she went, are you sure? I said, let him go. He'll be fine. And she did. And dogs are usually great. You know, they communicate quite well. But I'm not saying everyone out there just take your dog to a park and let it go. that might not necessarily be good. But yeah, I'm not a big one for leads. Leads,
but I think it's good to recap for people that in a social walk setting, you can't have your dog on a lead if you're unsure about how the dog will behave. Just increase the distance, have other people walk in between as barriers, so they decrease the tension if your dog is okay with people. So just if you're not sure, don't do it. It's okay. Better to live on positive note.
Or take other people with you, like you said, to form barriers, but take other people with you that that can watch out and see things that you possibly can't see. I always have a bit of giggle, and I've got some great photos, and I was nearly going to send them to you, and I thought I better not because it's probably unprofessional, but they're photos of all of us using long leads, and honestly, we are dancing around them and we're under them and through them, and we are really good at it, so the dogs can still mingle and we can slide through and, excuse me, and and it works quite well. But you've got to have, good lead skills to be able to do that sort of thing and really know your dogs. But social walking, they don't need to be, running around playing with each other or, like you said, nose to nose.
Yeah, exactly.
They're just doing their thing, and it's like, I hang out in the house, Graham's in the garage. I know he's there, but I don't necessarily need to be nose to nose with him all the time,
Yes. Thank you.
Another question. So as we said before, it's absolutely not about cues and commands, but there are some good beneficial activities we could add to our social walks. You mentioned before one that we could talk a little bit about. Sometimes you can just sit and stay somewhere with 2 or more dogs. Maybe if you tell us a little bit more about these things we can do during a social walk.
Yeah, and I think that's a really lovely thing to do, and we do it quite often, where we'll just stop. We'll find a tree, and we stop, and we'll all find a spot, and we all pull out our water bowl, our water and our little bowls that we carry. The dogs have a drink, and we just sit there and have a bit of a chat. I think that's, taking breaks along the way is really important. Another activity that I think is great to do on social walks is challenge yourself not to talk. We don't stop talking. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Come back here. No, don't eat that. Come over here. No, I don't want you there. So, actually challenging yourself to do a whole walk without saying a word to the dog. Talk to each other. We humans have great little natters along the way, but not. Also incorporating adventures in nature. I think what they call that now is like natural agility. So incorporating that into your walks, your social walks, I think is a fun thing to do. And if you don't have that around you, you can actually build things. So you could set up like a scent trail type activity before you actually go out on a social walk, which would be good. Swimming, I think dogs love water and they love to. And I love the picture behind me here. This is Freddie there. And he had a really sad start to life. And Hilly, this lady, took him. And this was, I think, maybe his first experience with water. So it's really lovely, for dogs to, if you can find water somewhere, that's a great thing. And something I haven't done, guys, but I'm thinking about it. So if I've got any of my social walk group on here, I reckon we should do a night walk.
Ooh.
Oh, nice.
That would be interesting.
Have any of you ever done that? A night social walk?
I have done it. I
Yeah,
have done
you
it. Yeah, because I mean, here we just tend to have people walking their dogs really late at night. Just, you know, I don't know why here it's just some kind of tradition here in the village. It's okay. I just find it a little bit harder because dogs are more cautious at night. They maybe get startled a little bit easier. At least that's what I noticed, and they are a little bit tenser than they would be during the day. So I don't know. I'm a little bit cautious. Yeah.
I suppose there's more wild. Like we would have more possums and cats and things like that out at night too. But
Yeah.
I'd like to give it a go. I mean, we could go to the beach at night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you should, and tell us how it goes. So.
Yeah, we'll all need little miner's lights.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but I don't know. I just feel that, you know, dogs don't see very well the colors, and the shadows can be a little bit funny for them during the night. For maybe some dogs will enjoy that because it's different sensory experience. Well, my dog is, you know, a little bit sensitive to everything around. So for her, it's additional stress. So I now try to avoid, you know, meeting other people, meeting other dogs in the night. But it depends, I guess, on the place and on the dog.
Maybe we could do something like we could start just on dark. Do you know what I mean? Like just sort of on dark and then go into the night. Anyway, I don't know. I just thought it might be something interesting.
It's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
And I want to say for people who, Jenny mentioned calming sessions and Jenny mentioned sensory trails, you can find more information about that on our page if you just use the search function, or on our website. We wrote blogs about those. So yeah, we won't now go into explaining what calming sessions and sensory trails are, but you can find more information on our page.
Yeah, and you could set you know, things like that up. So go, and I remember years ago doing a activity in a car where we had a driver and someone sitting in the passenger seat, and we had to follow a map. And on that map, we had to look for, you know, the brown letterbox and mark that one off. And then we had to, you know, find all these things and race to this spot. And it'd be great to do something like that for the humans as well as the dogs. So, you know, it'd take a bit of organising, but it would definitely be a fun thing to do, because if we can get the humans to enjoy social walks and smile and, you know, enjoy the company of the people, the dogs enjoy it even more. Do you know what I mean? It's really not just about the dogs. It's about being social. It's about getting off Facebook and getting out there and just being social and allowing your dogs, you know, to experience good experiences.
Yeah, and I really like that. And when we were together on the tourist course, I like very much her idea of setting social walks for older people in the area with their dogs, because they just miss, maybe not now during the COVID pandemic, but one day, it just because older people feel lonelier, and they might enjoy social walks as well, not only their dogs.
Yeah. I was just picturing, I can't remember who it was that was the old lady. Do you remember when we did the enrichment? I can't remember who that. I think Ina, actually, weren't you the instructor or something?
Might be.
Yeah, I think it was you. I think it was you, and someone was the old lady. Don't you remember? She was getting around with hair. Who was that?
Oh yeah. We were
I think it was Sole.
Very possible. I can see some people from our IDTE class in the comments. So if anyone remembers that, do let us know. It's been a while, but something happened. I remember that. I'm not clear on the details.
Yeah, it was the same time that Emma and I did the push bike, you know, riding along on the push bike.
Yeah. It was a lot.
For everyone else watching, we were very serious about our practice on IDTE.
Yeah. Super professional all the time.
Yes.
We had a great time and we learned a lot. That's what happened, really.
So it's nearly an hour, but I've got one more question that I want to ask, because you recently added this slogan to your company name and your motto about the future of dog training. And I wanted you to talk a bit about how does it relate to social walks, how does it relate to the Smiling Leash and generally to dog training?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say I recently added Gracie May, but that's okay.
Okay, as well.
Yeah. So the future of dog training, how it actually happened, and then I'll try and make this quick. Well, it's right on 7 o'clock here, so was I had and still have a problem with the words dog training. For many years, I just don't like to be called a dog trainer. I don't like to say I'm a dog trainer. I spoke to Turit, and I've spoken to so many other people on and off over the years about it. And I remember when I brought Turit to Australia, I talked to her about it, and she said, well, you are a dog trainer. And I said, well, I'm not, and neither are you. You're not a dog trainer. She said, yes, I am. I said, well, I don't think you are, but anyway. So it went on for years and years, and I brought it up again when I was in Spain, and we were having breakfast, and I said to her, I still got a problem with this word dog trainer. What am I going to do? I need to come up with something. And she said to me, Jenny, you are the future of dog training. I am teaching people to become the future dog trainers. And I went, okay, bing, that's it. I'll put that inside my logo, the future of dog training. So that's how it came about. And I even changed now I've got my new shirts.
Yeah.
Training. So how does it relate to what we do? I think we really need to step out of how we've been training dogs for years and years and years. And you would think in 2021 that we would be all over looking at a more natural, ethical, kind approach to working with dogs and just living with animals in general. So how does it relate to the Smiling Leash? I think you guys are doing an absolute amazing job with teaching people that we no longer have to be walking dogs on collars and halties and check chains and pinch collars and all sorts of other things that we are. We need to be putting them on good fitting harnesses and long leads and allowing dogs to be curious and make good choices and make their own choices. And by doing that, we help dogs build confidence and be able to just go out in society and be better mannered, I guess, than what we're seeing now with dogs being constantly controlled. Yeah, so the future of dog training is us. I'm looking at three of you there, and there's so many more out there, and we have a job to do, and we have a big responsibility as far as I'm concerned to make change.
Yeah, I love it. I've added it to my name, the future of dog training. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it is, and that's who we are, and I'm really proud of it, and I think even at work, sometimes people come in and they just don't get it. They don't get it. They'll never get it. They still just want to control dogs, because I think there's a lot of pressure on society to make sure that our dogs are behaving a certain way when they're out in public. And to be honest, I don't really care. I mean, I never tell my dogs what to do. Never, honestly. I never have to tell my dogs what to do. They just, we live in absolute harmony.
Fantastic.
Okay, thank you so much, Jenny. And for everyone out there, I want to put the name of Jenny's company and her Facebook page on the screens. So if you want to learn more from Jenny, go there on that page and follow her. we love having Jenny here with us. Thank you so much. It was so useful, so much information. Just great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. It's really lovely to be back.
It was amazing. Really nice.
Yes.
Thank you, Jenny.
And thanks to everyone who watched us today. Thank you for joining in. I hope you have a good Sunday.
Keep up your good work, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.